Holy cow, this chick wants to talk about the elephant in the living room with Donald J. Trump.
I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir.
Donald Trump gets kamikaze confronted at the National Association of Black Journalists in Chicago by this chick.
A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
All right, let me show you how bad political deception is. Recently, I think today, Donald Trump went to the National Association of Black Journalists conference in Chicago, and he was grilled by a black female journalist. This kid right here is Adam Mockler. He's a contributor for one of the fastest growing Democrat propaganda outlets on social media called Midas Touch. Let me show you just down here. You can see that where it says Midas Touch Network. I want to show you how dishonest this kid is. Now he's going to, just like they all do, mix truth with lies, with a heavy dose of Democrat propaganda. And of course they do this on the right too. That's why you have to be completely decoupled from principle to do what Midas Touch Network does, or what Luke Beasley, who's also with the Midas Touch Network, or maybe he's with Dave Pacman. But Adam Mockler's with Midas Touch. You've got Tennessee Brando, who's with Midas Touch. You've got Brian Tyler Cohen, who's also a Democrat propagandist. And of course, you have your rightist propagandists as well. You've got Louder with Crowder. You've got the Hodge twins. You've got Candace Owens, all speaking on behalf of the Republican Party. If you're speaking on behalf of the Republican Party, pushing their candidate, you are a propagandist for a political party that's owned by corporate and banking entities, period. It's not a two-party system. It's a uniparty system. So let me show you how dishonest Adam Mockler is when he handles this. I'm going to put it at a 1.25 speed so we can just get through this as quickly as possible.
Donald Trump just got confronted to his face for his history of racist comments at an event for the National Association of Black Journalists, and it may be the funniest thing I've seen all day. I have no clue what Donald Trump was thinking walking into a building full of seasoned black journalists who absolutely hate him and thinking that he could just say stuff like this.
And he should have walked into it armed with some of the things that I'm going to tell you. All he had to do was use Joe Biden's own words. All he had to use was Kamala Harris's own record. That's all he had to do. And then just stop there. Don't embellish anything. Don't add to it. Let them deal with it. Throw that grenade, that live grenade, back into their foxhole. Listen.
This clip.
I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not.
Name a politician who hasn't pushed false claims about their rivals. I don't care if it's Obama, Biden, George Bush, W.H.W., Clinton. Name one politician, name one political parasite who's been engaged in the left versus right dog and pony show, even in their own party, who hasn't promoted lies on behalf of the candidates who are running against him. Name one. Name one.
True. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them.
What does Maxine Waters say about these people? Everybody's a hypocrite, because when you take a position, when you take a side, I'm going to be Democrat, I'm going to be Republican, you become inherently hypocritical in an inherently hypocritical political spectrum. That's all it is. That's what politics is. 100% lies and deception and inconsistency and hypocrisy. It's like these people aren't aware that video cameras exist and everything that they say or do is being recorded to be brought up at a later date.
loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
That is a
I would say, don't forget, I've also had dinner with a black supremacist, and I've also had dinner with Jewish supremacists. So, like, what's your point?
great question. And notice, look at how visibly uncomfortable Donald Trump got on stage. Now let's take a guess really quickly. How is Donald Trump going to respond? Is he going to own up to it?
So this guy is he's now a body language expert. Look how uncomfortable. Donald Trump actually doesn't look uncomfortable. He looks like he's gearing up to just let her have it. And he kind of does. It's not substantive, and it never is coming out of Donald Trump, but there's nothing substantive coming out of Kamala Harris either. It's always this tit for tat that's absolutely meaningless. So this guy's a body language expert saying, oh, look how uncomfortable Trump is. I love it. He's being crushed.
His mistakes in the past? Is he going to pivot and deflect and talk about random stuff? Is he going to attack the journalist, or is he going to double down, or a combination of all of the worst things? Let's take a look.
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country.
Look at this. A white kid is smirking at this. And if you look at black conservatives like the Hodge twins, would be like, yeah, he has. But a white kid's like, yeah, I haven't done anything for the black community. Come on, man. It's like everybody's got their own little bubble that they live in. This is what I hate about politics. It really demeans and demoralizes the people who engage in it.
Donald Trump immediately turns nasty and begins attacking the journalist on stage. If the journalist really wanted to dig into Donald Trump's full racist history, I mean, everything he said, they would be there all night, but Donald Trump can't own up to what he said. Donald Trump immediately has to deflect and attack and say, why can't you just be nice when Donald Trump is the one who has a history of being incredibly racist? He wanted to come there and just pander and try to win over a few African-American voters, and when he couldn't do that, when he was actually confronted...
Pander? That's exactly what Kamala did last night in Atlanta, Georgia. She was there pandering to Democratic and Democrat constituents. That's what politicians do. They pander. They tell you what you want to hear, not what you gotta hear. That's the whole MO of all politicians, Democrat or Republican. See how hypocritical Adam Mockler is being here?
On his racist history, he throws a tantrum. Trump then talks about Kamala Harris.
You will see no tantrum. As a matter of fact, I might go ahead and deal with this entire thing. Trump does not throw any tantrum that I've seen. Now, I haven't watched it all the way through. He could have thrown a tantrum, but look up the definition of tantrum. Maybe he objects to certain things that were said, but there is by no means any video recording of any kind of tantrum. But go ahead, Adam.
Not being actually black. I mean, this one is just wild to me. Take a look. Make sure you leave a like on this video as well.
Then we'll move on to other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead.
Good question.
Diversity, equity, inclusion.
Okay.
Look at this. Look at this. How do you define DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion? In other words, how do you define diversity, equity, and inclusion? And she says, well, I define it by diversity, equity, and inclusion. She didn't define it. And Adam Mockler's like being clearly disingenuous because saying the name of something isn't defining the something that you just said. See, they got to play this game. And look, he just released this an hour ago. It's got almost 60,000 views in 1 hour. My channel won't get 60,000 views in a month. He gets it in 1 hour because people love this stuff. And in order to absorb this and to accept what Mockler or Midas Touch or Candace Owens or the Hodge twins or Brian Tyler Cohen, in order to accept this, you have to detach yourself from critical thinking. You can't be asking questions. You can't be going, okay, now why did he smirk about that? Because Trump actually asked and you know me, you know what I think about Trump. He's completely banker owned, just like Kamala is. But when you ask a question and the answer is ridiculous, then it's the journalist that you should be smirking about, not Donald Trump saying define DEI. And she goes, diversity, equity, inclusion, which is not defining DEI. And Mockler's like, yeah, that's how you define it. Come on, have integrity, Adam. Get integrity. You've sold your soul to become a Democrat propagandist.
Yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally the
definition then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir, I'm asking you a question.
Is he trying to act tough and play games, or does Donald Trump actually not know the definition? I think he actually is so dumb, he doesn't know the definition. He doesn't know how to respond, so he's acting like it's some sort of game.
How childish. How utterly childish, man. And by the way, if you look at the concept of DEI, it's in contrast to and diametrically opposed to people who earn a job on merit. I don't care if you're male, female. I don't care if you call yourself a Furby. I don't care what color your skin is. Can you fly the airplane? Can you drive the taxi cab? Can you lay my concrete driveway and do it without cracking? I don't care I don't even care if you speak English. I don't care if you're from this country. I don't care if you're what they call legal or illegal, whatever that means. Can you do the job? Do you want, be honest, everybody who's pushing diversity, equity, and inclusion, do you want them to lower the standard so that when you get on that Southwest flight or that American Airlines flight, you know that the pilot and the co-pilot and the navigator were DEI hires and not the best people for the job? Be serious. Be real. Be real. Stop being fake. Have integrity.
Define it for me, if you
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well,
let me tell you what Joe Biden says about that. And this is how Trump should have, this is the angle he should have taken. Let me just show you what Joe Biden says about this when he's talking to Kamala Harris on the Democrat debate stage.
Vice President Biden, I want to give you a chance to respond to what Senator Harris just said.
When Senator Harris was the Attorney General for 8 years in the state of California, there were two of the most segregated school districts in the country, in Los Angeles and in San Francisco. And she did not, I didn't see a single solitary time she brought a case against them to desegregate them. Secondly.
So number one, Joe Biden says Kamala Harris did nothing to desegregate. Okay.
She also was in a situation where she had a police department when she was there that in fact was abusing people's rights. And the fact was that she, in fact, was told by her own people, that her own staff, that she should do something about and disclose to defense attorneys like me that you, in fact, have been, the police officer did something that did not give you information that would exculpate your client. She didn't do that. She never did it. And so what happened? Along came a federal judge and said, enough, and he freed 1,000 of these people. If you doubt me, Google 1,000 prisoners freed, Kamala Harris.
Thank you.
What the frick? So let me get this straight. Number one, she was the Attorney General for 8 years and did nothing to desegregate. Number two, she knew that cops were abusing people. She was told that cops abused people and she did absolutely nothing. And number three, she kept innocent people who, majority of them who were black, they had colored skin, in jail when they didn't need to be in jail. And yet Joe Biden hired her and confirmed her to be his vice president. If that's not diversity, equity, and inclusion, what is? So Joe Biden either lied so that he could beat Kamala Harris in this debate, or he's telling the truth and he hired somebody to be the vice president who knew cops were abusing people and did nothing about it. And as an attorney general, she chose not to desegregate. So what would you call that then, Adam Mockler? What exactly would you call that if not a DEI hire? That's not. So he didn't hire her based on her merits, or maybe he hired her based on the merits of putting black people, innocent black people, in jail. And then after getting, the heavy hand of justice against her, she refused. You know what? Let me show you something. This comes from Vox. Let me just show you this. This is from Vox. Let me read to you what Vox actually says about Harris's record. A close examination of Harris's record show it's filled with contradictions you don't say. You don't say. She pushed for programs that help people find jobs instead of putting them in prison, but also fought to keep people in prison even after they were proved innocent, says Vox. So she knowingly kept innocent people in prison and knowingly did nothing about cops who were abusing people's rights, and she's vice president. Hey, Adam, you want to answer for this? This is Vox, by the way. This isn't Fox News. This is Vox. Says she refused to pursue the death penalty against a man who killed a police officer, but also defended California's death penalty system in court. So she's inherently a contradictory person. She's a hypocritical person. She implemented training programs to address police officers' racial bias, but also resisted calls to get her office to investigate certain police shootings. That's Vox. But then look what they say in the very next sentence. But what seems like contradictions may reflect a balancing act. Yeah, that's what politicians do. They have this balancing act of hypocrisy, and people continue to believe them, even though they themselves are parasitic in nature, living off of the rest of us as glorified welfare recipients. Back to Adam. So that's what this is how Trump should have responded with the Vox article, and more specifically with Kamala's own record and Joe Biden's own words against her. If they disagree, then I guess they're calling Joe Biden a liar.
I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black.
I sped this up to 1.5 now.
Until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always identified as a black woman.
Donald Trump is so dumb. I'm sorry to keep pausing it, but this man is so dumb that he can't hold two ideas in his head at once. VP Harris has always been partially black and always been partially Indian. These two things can both be true at the same time, but Donald Trump is sitting there on stage in front of an American flag doing his accordion hands, just being so divisive and racist in a country that is built on inclusion, in a country that is built on freedom of religion, freedom of speech, a melting pot of different cultures. Here's Donald Trump trying to not only just take away the vote of the American people, disenfranchise black voters, but then go on stage and gaslight black voters. It's just so frustrating, but let's continue.
It is kind of frustrating in that Donald Trump shouldn't, there's no reason to go down this rabbit hole that Trump's going down. No reason at all. All you got to use is the words of the political parasites against them. But one of the reasons he can't is because he's in the same political three-ring circus that they are. So it's a clown calling another clown a clown.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe that
I think somebody should look into that too when you continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some
I really
Republicans
don't know.
have said?
I mean, I really don't know.
Breaking news, Donald Trump cannot answer.
I would say Joe Biden says yes, and on one of the rare occasions I agree with Joe Biden. Joe Biden said she knew about cops abusing people, including black people. She did nothing about it. She did nothing about segregation, and she kept innocent people that she knew were innocent in prison. Let me tell you something. Prosecutors work for the state. They don't work for the people. They get brownie points and plaques on a wall, and they get accolades from putting people in prison. It doesn't matter to the prosecutor if the person is innocent or guilty. If they can throw the book at them, they get the pats on the back. That's what Kamala Harris was. That's who Joe Biden hired to be the vice president of the United States. Why don't we stick with those facts?
Direct questions, even though he's 80 years old almost. Also, this is just disgusting. On screen, they're making Donald.
Which he never made it a point to talk about Joe Biden's age. Adam Mockler, Midas Touch, Brian Tyler Cohen. Nobody said any. MSNBC, ABC, CBS. None of them talked about a president's age until Biden bowed out. Isn't that interesting? Now all of a sudden, Trump's age is an issue.
Trump looked like some tough, the Birch Gold group. Meanwhile, he's on stage doubling down on his racism. Notice how he didn't answer the question about DEI. He gave no solid answer to the question. He couldn't even disavow it. Just like he couldn't disavow the Proud Boys on stage, he couldn't disavow DEI. In fact, he doubled down on saying that VP Harris was never black until recently, which again, I want to reiterate, that is not true. Donald Trump repeatedly doubts people's race, doubts people's nationalities. It is so disgusting. Let's continue with this next clip.
Prosecute him. I won the case, and it got very little publicity. I didn't notice ABC doing any publicity on it, George.
We covered you extensively, sir. I'd love to move over to
I didn't notice you do any publicity on it at all. I won won the case, the biggest case. This is an attack on a political opponent. I have another one where I have a hostile judge.
We have you for a limited time, sir. I'd love to move on to different topics.
Excuse me, you're the one that held me up for 35 minutes, just so you understand.
If we can move on now to...
We're not going to...
Donald Trump's disrespect towards Rachel Scott on stage is absolutely wild, and it made the entire crowd gasp.
Time, sir. I'd love to move on to different topics.
Excuse me, you're the one that held me up for 35 minutes, just so you understand.
The absolute disrespect to walk into a building full of accomplished black journalists as a man with a racist history, and not only just not be able to own up to your past, but to double down on those comments on stage, and then to disrespect the women journalists on stage around you is absolutely wild. And I hope this stirs something up in Donald Trump that really shows how racist he is to the American people. I'm assuming this anger in him on stage is somehow going to carry over to VP Harris, because Donald Trump just has this innate hatred towards accomplished black women.
This guy's such a virtue signaler at such a young age. I hate to see this kind of stuff because this guy is getting so many views. He's getting rich through YouTube. I don't know if he's got a Facebook presence or whatever, but he is heavily monetized and is becoming incredibly popular. Already has 320,000 subscribers. I think he's gained 100,000 subscribers just in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But he sold his soul to the Democrat Party to be a paid propagandist.
So I'm assuming he's going to start going extra hard towards Kamala Harris. He's going to start using extra nasty attacks. And just the rhetoric Donald Trump uses on stage at this conference is honestly unbelievable.
So let's talk about J.D. Vance for a little bit. He's had some stumbles out of the gate. I don't know if you're hearing what we hear as reporters, but it's
This is Fox News' Harris Faulkner. Of course, she's going to throw the softball at him.
been a tough couple of weeks for him. Why did you choose J.D. Vance? Why did you choose him? And I'm having a hard time hearing too. Everybody out there can, but
I'll tell you why. I chose him because he's a very strong believer in work and the working man and woman, and especially...
Just be honest. I chose him because Peter Thiel told me to choose him. That's why I did it.
The working man and woman who have been treated very unfairly, because you have many of them in this room, but you have many of those people, they were treated very unfairly. They worked very hard and they were treated unfairly. He wrote...
J.D. Vance is in favor of the working men and women, except if you're a man or a woman who doesn't have a child, is not able to have one for some sort of medical reason, or is just single for some reason. J.D. Vance is for the working men and women, but he sold his soul to Donald Trump at the first chance he got and abandoned them.
And you know about selling souls, don't you, Adam? But J.D. Vance, yeah, all the things that he's talking about childless cat ladies, that's even making people on the right like Tommy Lahren cringe, going, dude, what are you trying to do? Polarize people? We need people in our big Republican tent. What's going on?
His home state. Either way, if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed seeing Donald Trump crumble on stage, make sure you leave a like.
Yeah, there you go. The last jab of dishonesty in this video. If you want me to more thoroughly go over this interaction that Trump had at the National Association of Black Journalists in Chicago, let me know, and I will do that. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to this channel. It's called The Disturbing Illusion for a reason. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know. Don't forget to subscribe to my email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. That way I can let you know when I release videos, because apparently people are telling me that they're pushing the bell notification icon. It's getting unpushed. They're subscribing to the channel. They're getting unsubscribed. I've had a lot of people say that. So thank you for coming back. Thank you for joining. Thank you for watching these videos and engaging in the comment section and liking and sharing them. I'll see you in the next video.